Hello and welcome back to the channel. Something a bit different today. Hopefully not an extremely long video. This is a series that I'm going to be calling a quick fire deep dive, which is basically a discography that I go through on my own without a guest. And the idea here is rather than the long rambling rankings, I just sort of give you a beginner's guide, if you will, alongside my rankings. So the first band I decided to tackle was the new Pornographers, who just released a new album today, actually. I listened to it at midnight last night, took some notes, and then skimmed through it again this morning. So I'm pretty excited to rank it amongst all these albums that I've been getting to know. They have 9 studio albums, so I'll also accompany this with the top 10 songs. And yeah, if people enjoy this, then I'll make more of them. I just figured it would be an interesting change of pace. So I'm just going to get right into it. My number 9 for the new Pornographers is Brill Bruisers, their 2014 album, 6th album. I think the title track is a pretty decent way to open. I do think this is a problem with their later stuff, that their work feels more underwritten. I think their combination of unique melody and cool lyrics is something that makes them really special early on in their career. But the whole album as well, this one more than any other, sounds quite artificial and polished. There's some really annoying vocal effects, which I don't like at all. The highlights are War on the East Coast and You Tell Me Where. Not bad, mostly just bland. I give it a 5 out of 10. Then at number 8, I've got the new album, Continue as a Guest, which I have as a 6. It sounds a lot better than Brill Bruisers. It has a more mellow sound. I think Really, Really Light is a really, really good opener. When I first heard it as a single, I wasn't sure, but I'm converted now. I like it. I think Pontius Pilot's Home Movies is nice too. Really cool guitar. And then it just kind of goes downhill from there. I think Cat and Mouse with the Light kind of has the same annoying vocal production that you get on Brill Bruisers. And the song is largely forgettable. Even after skimming through it a second time, the songs aren't memorable at all. I think Firework in the Falling Snow is a pretty nice song, buried quite deep into the album. The synth soundscape's pretty nice. Definitely better than Brill Bruisers, but not an exciting listen. It gets a 6. But the rest of these albums, spoilers, I like I like the new Pornographers quite a bit. So I'm going to have some rankings that people might not like, but it was tough because my next is a 7, and then it's only up from here. So number 7 for me, at 7 out of 10, is Together, their 5th album from 2010. More Baroque instrumentation, especially on the first couple tracks, moves and crashes, definite highlights. My Shepherd, also enjoyable. Nico Case's vocals in the chorus are amazing as well. She's a real highlight of the band. Of course, you have 3 songwriters here, so I tend to prefer AC Newman and Nico Case's songs over Dan's songs. So yeah, but an exception to that rule is If You Can't See My Mirrors, which is infectious. One of my favorite Dan songs, honestly. Valkyrie and the Roller Disco is also really nice. Yeah, it kind of, again, a problem I'm going to have with a few of these is that as much as I enjoy almost every song, there's a sense of a repetitive nature to the way they construct their albums, and especially when these earlier albums, which are a bit more bombastic and loud, that can be a detriment. And the songwriting isn't quite as attention grabbing as what came before, but an enjoyable album that I would probably recommend. Together. Number 6, Whiteout Conditions, from 2017, also a 7 out of 10. I talk about wanting, maybe getting a bit burnt out on this band and wanting a change, and this album provides it. There's a more synthy sound to this one. There's some weird choices, like some vocoder on a few tracks, which I'm not sure, but yeah, the opener I wasn't too big on, but then the title track immediately feels more impactful, really nice pounding rhythm to it. High Ticket Attractions has some really cool fluttering synths. Great vocal interplay and an incredible bass line. This Is the World of Theatre continues a really nice run of songs, feels very Arcade Fire, which may be a trend in what I'm talking about with this band. They're quite similar in a lot of ways. And yeah, I wasn't sure about the synths at first until I realized that the synths were bringing what I wanted this whole time, change. And yeah, Colosseum's delightfully quirky number. Again, what a great bass line on that song. Less cluttered sound on this album, which I do enjoy. I think the mix is much better than Brill Bruisers, which is the album that came directly before it. And yeah, Whiteout Conditions is pretty good. Give it a 7. Now, top 5. I am going to have what I think is the conventional top four, but maybe my biggest controversial take here is In the Morse Code of Brake Lights at number 5, their 2019 album. Really surprised by this one. I give it an 8. I think it's a pretty great album. I think there's a lot of great songs on here, and I think it's unfairly dismissed a lot of the time. I think it's a more adventurous effort than what they had been doing. You'll Need a Backseat Driver is a great opener, great bounce and power to it, very melodic. The Surprise Knock, really nice follow-up track, very unique melody to that one. Falling Down the Stairs of Your Smile, love that one, so amazing. Very nearly made my top 10 songs, as did The Colossus of Rhodes. The arrangements on some of these songs are incredible. The strings sound fantastic. Higher Beams has this lovely, lush soundscape, really like it. Dream Like It on the Rush, again, great strings. I think You Won't Need Those Where You're Going is a nice change of pace. That, you know, I tend to gravitate towards slower songs sometimes, but especially within these albums, I think sometimes you need a breather, and I think that provides a really good one there. Need Some Giants is a nice song, picks up the pace nicely again. Opening Ceremony, the hook of that song is incredible, such an earworm. Yeah, Leather on the Seat has another chaotic string section and a really nice pulsing bass on it. Works pretty well as a closer, and yeah, surprisingly strong album all the way through. I see a lot of people putting this near the bottom, and I don't agree, obviously. My number 4 is Twin Cinema, their 2005 album. I do have the first 4 albums at the top, and I think there's a reason for that. I think they were really lightning in a bottle, you know, with this sort of pseudo supergroup, if you will, with AC Newman and Nico Case, who in her own right is a very successful solo artist, and obviously Dan Bejar from Destroyer. So yeah, I think that initial spark of creativity really shines through on these earlier ones, and Twin Cinema is the weakest of the first 4, mainly for the sound. Sonically, it's very cacophonous and hard to listen to on headphones because it's just so loud. There's so much going on that it kind of gets a bit overwhelming. That said, it has some incredible songs. The title track would probably be my number 11 on my songs list. I love it. Quite off kilter in parts, very Talking Heads vibes. Use It is a great song, reminds me of Spoon, actually, which is pretty cool. The Bleeding Hearts Show is a nice, more tender song. They've matured by now and are incorporating quieter songs to break the album up, which I appreciate. The choral vocals are amazing, and the drums go so hard in the back half. Jessica Numbers has some really lovely harmonies as well, which you will find in a lot of these songs. Sing Me Spanish Techno, I think, is the best song on the album, brings the noise back up. So much fun. Genuinely one of their crowning achievements. You know, the chorus is incredible. I've been spinning that song a lot recently. I think the second half is where it kind of falls apart. I think Falling Through Your Clothes, maybe slightly clumsy melodically. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like in the second half, there's so many songs on this album, and they kind of get lost in trying too hard to be sort of quirky. But I think the first half of the album is up there with their very best. So that's why it's landed this high. Yeah, really cool album, Twin Cinema. Bronze medal goes to the album that followed it directly, Challenges, which I was very surprised how much I liked. I think is, you know, very close to my number 2 as well. There's a more mellow sound here, which I really appreciate. My Rights versus Yours is such a good opener. I really, really love that song. All the Old Showstoppers is really good as well. Really nice strings. I really, really like the title track, which is pretty much a folk song, which allows Nico Case to take the mic, which whenever that happens is a win for me. The mandolin is incredible. Myriad Harbor is the best Dan song up to this point. Such an Arcade Fire vibe to it. Yeah, then, you know, all things that make Heaven and Earth not the best. It's sort of all bombast, no melody. Failsafe, though, pretty unique sounding for the band. I enjoy it. Unguided, the longest track they've done up to this point, and maybe the longest track they've ever done. Really anthemic nature to it. Love the slow build. Entering White Cecilia has a cool vibe with its bouncy acoustic guitar. Dan's songwriting, again, really shining. And Nico's La La La's in the background, so cool. Go Places, another really nice song. Yeah, I just think that this allows the songs to breathe a bit more than Twin Cinema, and I do think the songwriting is more consistent throughout. And then you get a real gem in Adventures in Solitude, which is buried towards the end of the album. So pretty. Love the way it expands and explodes as their songs tend to do. That sort of coda is just brilliant. Yeah, this album really rules, and I want to point towards it as this is one of their best albums. It's up there, which does mean I have the first two albums as my top two, and in second place, still an 8, is going to be the debut, Mass Romantic. Kind of similar issues that I had to Twin Cinema in the sense that it is quite bombastic, and listening to it in full can get a bit tiring. That's pretty much the only reason why it's not a 9, because this has some of their all-time best songs. There's no doubt about it. The opening title track was one of the few songs I knew going into this deep dive. Is the perfect way to announce themselves. So rowdy and fun and catchy. The slow descent into alcoholism brings a lot of energy to it. The final chorus hits really well, which is something they really master on this album. Is the final chorus feeling so important? You know, they do a really good job with that. Let From an Occupant blazes by, backed by Nico Case's best vocal performance, no doubt about it. I kind of noted how much I love the three singers have their own unique presence, which I appreciate. I think it really sells the band as a unique group in a sense. There's a really playful and rough-edged quality to the songs here, which is still present on the couple albums after, but not as much as on this one. The Body Says No has a great vibe. Almost feels like an 80s sort of alt rock power pop song. And yeah, I think Breaking the Law is pretty much the perfect close you could have for the album. So Mass Romantic is amazing, almost excellent. It just, I think as a cohesive album experience, it maybe suffers a little bit, but you know, it's a lot of fun and I would definitely recommend it. And then my number one wasn't that difficult at all. 9 out of 10 for Electric Version from 2003, their second album. Pretty much everything I want from this band concentrated in one perfect full album listen. You know, I mean, in terms of a cohesive listen, it's perfect. I haven't given it a full score because there are a few tracks that on their own I'm like, but how they all work together is masterful. Again, opening on a title track, which is something they do quite a lot. Nice driving rhythm with a super chorus. I think From Blown Speakers is the perfect track too. The guitar tone is fantastic, and the final minute of that song is just euphoric. I think it's brilliant. The Laws Have Changed is one of their most well-known songs, and for good reason. So good. Love the vocal interplay on that one, and again, Nico Case really shines. The End of Medicine, brilliantly structured. I noticed really cool, sort of interesting structure to that one. Kept me guessing where it was going to head. Loose Translation is sort of a blend of the playful and the biting side of their songwriting. Really cool track, great hook, and the bright synths really do make the song. Chump Change, I think, is Dan's best song up to this point. Definitely better than anything he had on the debut. Yeah, the rough edges are not gone, but they're less prevalent, I would say. All for Swinging You Around is this amazing Nico Case-led song. She has so much attitude on that, which I just love. The New Face of 0 and 1 is another to the list of great tracks. It's awesome, crunchy guitar. Testament to Youth in verse. Has a great feel. Again, Spoon comparison. But yeah, vocal layering in the second half is so unique, and the build to the climax is so satisfying. Yeah, and then it ends really strong as well. I think July Jones, really intelligently written pop song. And then Miss Teen Word Power kind of has a different vibe to the rest of the album, but you know, it works really well as a closer. And I think this is just pure joyous sort of indie pop, power pop, gold standard of both genres. Sounds amazing. All three singers are great. And yeah, if you haven't heard Electric Version, you should, because it is a really, really, really fun album. And then I guess I'll just blitz through my top 10 songs. Number 10 from Challenges is Myriad Harbor. Number 9 from Electric Version is July Jones. Number 8 from Twin Cinema is Sing Me Spanish Techno. Number 7 from Electric Version is All for Swinging You Around. And we get 2 in a row from Mass Romantic, being The Body Says No and the title track, Mass Romantic. Number 4 from Electric Version, From Blown Speakers. Number 3, bronze medal from Challenges, is Adventures in Solitude. Number 2 from Mass Romantic, Letter from an Occupant. Number one from Electric Version is The Laws Have Changed. So that is the new Pornographers. That was my experience diving into them. If you're not familiar with them, maybe check out some of my top 10 songs. Maybe check out the top three. I think they all show quite different sides to the band. And if you want to check out an album, I would recommend starting with the debut, Mass Romantic. But you could also start with Electric Version, which is my number one. And if you want something a bit more mellow, you could go for Challenges, which is also great in its own right. Those three albums especially, I don't think you can really go wrong with. So that's where I land on them. Thank you for watching if you have. Hopefully we will provide some more quick-fire deep dives in the future when I find a band I want to cover that maybe I can't necessarily tie some guests down for, or I just want to cover them in a more short-form video. So thanks very much for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you soon.